The Aura server logs glowed on my screen, a river of code only I could truly read. A critical vulnerability pulsed in red, a ticking time bomb. Liam, have you seen my silver heels? Chloe's voice cut through my focus from her walk-in closet. Hallway closet, top shelf, I said without looking up. Chloe, we need to talk about the Aura Core. She breezed into the home office, a whirlwind of silk and ambition, fastening a diamond earring. Can it wait? The gala starts in an hour. You are still driving me, right? Of course. I swiveled my chair. But this is a level 3 security flaw. A targeted attack could bypass the entire firewall. I can patch it, but I need you to delay the new feature rollout. She sighed, the sound full of the gentle exasperation she reserved for me. Liam, the investors are expecting that feature. We can't slow down now. Just put a bandage on it. You always do. You always do. The words hung in the air, the unspoken truth of our partnership. I was the ghost in her machine, the silent hand that kept her brilliant empire from crashing down. A memory flashed, sharp and clear. 5 years ago, on the floor of her first apartment, surrounded by pizza boxes, "It'll be called Aura," she'd said, her eyes blazing with a fire I loved. An intelligent life manager. The predictive algorithm needs a neural network backbone, I'd mumbled, scribbling equations on a napkin. It's complex. She'd grabbed my hand, her touch electric. But you can build it, Liam. I know you can. You're the brains, I'm the face. We'll be unstoppable. I'd built it. And somewhere along the way, I became the help instead of the partner. Now, at the gala, I was invisible. I stood near a potted fern, a ghost in a cheap suit amidst a sea of designer labels. Chloe was the sun at the center of the room, her laughter ringing out. I decided to get her coat. She'd be ready to leave soon. As I approached the secluded alcove leading to the coat check, I heard their voices. Chloe's and Mark Reynolds, our most predatory investor. Incredible trajectory, Chloe, Mark was saying. A true visionary. Thank you, Mark. We're just getting started. We? Mark chuckled. I only see one star on this stage. You've built this alone. My feet froze to the marble floor. I was hidden by a tall, decorative screen. Well, I have a great team, Chloe said, her tone dismissive. Of course. But you need to trim the dead weight to really soar. Mark's voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper. Speaking of, I saw your +1. The quiet fellow who follows you around. What is he, your personal assistant? I held my breath. Chloe let out a light, airy laugh. A sound that had once felt like home. Now it turned my blood to ice. Liam? Oh, he's comfortable. A charity case from my past, really. He's harmless. The world tilted. Charity case, Mark snorted. He looks pathetic. Like a lost puppy. I could almost hear her shrugging. He's like an old chair, familiar. But every chair needs to be replaced eventually, doesn't it? Once you can afford a better one. The air left my lungs. The noise of the gala faded into a dull, roaring static. An old chair, every late night I spent coding. Every meal I cooked so she could work. Every strategic insight I whispered in her ear. Every dream I buried to build hers. It all dissolved in that single casual sentence. I was comfortable. I was familiar. I was furniture. I didn't move. I just stood there, the ghost finally hearing his own eulogy. The love I'd carried for years, the loyalty that was my entire identity, shattered into a million silent, worthless pieces. It had never meant anything to her at all. The red pulse of the server flaw flashed in my mind. I had been the bandage holding everything together. But bandages can be ripped off. Chairs can be thrown out. I turned and walked away, leaving the coat, leaving her, leaving the man I used to be behind in the shadows. I didn't sleep. I just sat on the edge of my bed, the echo of her laugh scraping my mind raw. An old chair. The words played on a loop, draining the last of my emotion until only a cold, hollow shell remained. When the sun rose, I moved. I pulled a single duffel bag from the closet. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. Chloe, where are you? My breakfast meeting is in 30. I need the slides for the Henderson group. I stared at the screen. For 5 years, my purpose had been in texts like these. Now it was just noise. I picked up the phone. My fingers didn't shake. They felt like someone else's. I went to her contact, a picture of her smiling, taken by me. I hit block. The silence that followed was the loudest sound I'd ever heard. I packed. 3 t-shirts, 2 pairs of jeans, my laptop. Nothing from her. Nothing that belonged to the ghost. I left the expensive watch she bought me for my last birthday on the dresser. At the bank, the teller smiled politely. "Withdrawing everything, Mr. Walsh?" "Yes, that's 47.56. I almost laughed. 5 years of my life, and that was the price. "That's fine." The bus station smelled of diesel and stale coffee. I approached the counter. "Where's the next bus going?" I asked. The agent looked bored. "Cedarbrook, leaves in 20. One way?" "One way." On the bus, I finally took out a notepad. What was there to say? Every plea, every question, every ounce of pain felt pointless. She wouldn't understand any of it. So I wrote 3 sentences. I didn't sign it. Back at the apartment for the last time, I propped the note against the coffee maker she never learned to use. The chair is gone. "Don't try to find me." Li didn't look back. The door clicked shut, a final soft sound that ended a chapter of my life. The bus rumbled out of the city. My phone, now a useless brick for anyone but me, lit up with a call from an unknown number. I let it ring. A text followed from that same number. Unknown. "Liam, this is ridiculous. Pick up. I'm late for my investor call because of you. I deleted it." The numbness was a shield. But underneath, a sharp, terrifying freedom began to poke through. An hour later, another unknown number. Unknown. Okay, fine. "I'm sorry if I was short with you last night, but this is childish. The Aura servers are lagging. James is panicking. Call me." I looked out the window at the passing fields. The servers were lagging. Interesting. The first sign of the ghost's absence. My own system alerts, forwarded to a private server, started pinging on my laptop. A cascade of failures. The automated maintenance scripts had failed to run. The custom load balancers I'd built were misrouting traffic. She had no idea any of it even existed. My phone buzzed again, a different number. Unknown. "Liam, it's Sarah. Chloe is freaking out." "She said you just left? What's going on? Are you okay?" I powered the phone down. The world I'd built for her was already beginning to fray at the edges, and they were all scrambling, blindfolded. I thought the pain would be a tsunami, but it wasn't. It was a quiet, cold void where my love for her used to live. I felt light. Empty, but light. As the city skyline vanished behind the hills, a new alert popped up on my screen. Critical primary authentication server. Unresponsive. The central hub for every login, every user session. The one system I told her needed redundancy 6 months ago. "We can't slow down, Liam, just put a bandage on it." The bandage had just been ripped off. I closed my laptop. I imagined the scene at Summit Tech, the panic. Chloe's frustration turning to confusion, then to the first faint prickle of fear. She thought I was throwing a tantrum. She had no idea I'd just pulled the foundation out from under her feet. The bus drove on, taking me away from the wreckage. For the first time in years, I was going somewhere she couldn't follow. The salt air was my new alarm clock. No blaring phones, just the distant cry of gulls and the steady Pacific rhythm. My new world was the Cedarbrook Library, a small, weathered building that smelled of old paper and peace. "Morning, Liam," Mrs. Gable, the head librarian, said as I walked in. "The new history section arrivals are in the back. Could you catalog them?" "On it," I said, and I meant it. It was a simple task with a clear end. I'd forgotten what that felt like. On my break, I sat in the staff room and opened my laptop. I navigated through 3 encrypted layers to my private feed. The Summit Tech alert tag was blazing red. The first article was from a tech blog. User reports, "Is Aura glitching?" The comments were a graveyard of minor complaints. Features loading slowly. Calendar syncs failing. The kind of noise Chloe's team would dismiss as network issues. But I knew better. The automated optimization scripts had finally timed out. The system was running on its bare, inefficient bones. My work phone, a cheap burner, vibrated. An unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, the notification popped up. I put in my earbuds and pressed play. Her voice was sharp, strained. "Liam, this isn't funny. Where are you? The platform it's being difficult. The team can't figure out why the response time has cratered. I need you to look at it." There was a pause, as if she expected me to magically answer. Her tone shifted, becoming a demand. "Where are the system passwords for the back-end admin?" James says the ones we have don't have the right permissions. This is a disaster. The investors are asking questions. Call me back. I deleted the voicemail. The passwords she was screaming for were the ones I'd emailed her 3 times over the years. She'd never saved them. Why would she? The chair handled that. Later, as I was shelving travel guides, my burner rang again. This time it was Sarah. I hesitated, then answered. Hey, Sarah? Liam. Oh my God, you're alive. Are you okay? We've been so worried. I'm fine, I said, my voice even. I needed a change. A change? Liam, you vanished. Chloe as well, she's a mess. She says the company is falling apart without you. I slid a book about Peru into its place. I find that hard to believe. It's true. She said the engineers are working 24/7, but they can't fix the problems. She told me she might have said some things she regrets. At that gala. My grip tightened on a book about Greece. She did. She's sorry, Liam. Really. She's just under so much pressure. You know how she gets. That was the excuse I'd always accepted. The pressure. The ambition. It had once been a shield I'd helped her hold up. Sarah, her pressure is no longer my problem. But you loved her, she said, her voice pleading. You can't just throw that away. I looked out the library window at the quiet, empty street, a world away from the glass and steel panic of Summit Tech. I didn't throw it away, I said softly. She did. She called me an old chair. Tell me, what do you do with an old chair, Sarah? The line was silent for a long moment. Oh, she finally whispered. Yeah, oh. I have to go, Sarah. Don't call this number again. I ended the call. The silence in the library felt clean, earned. That evening, the big one hit. My feed exploded. Aura outage, widespread service disruption. The core authentication server, the one I'd warned her about, had finally buckled under the strain it was never designed to handle. 1 million users locked out. My burner lit up once more. No caller ID this time. I knew it was her. I let it ring, watching the screen flash until it went dark. I thought of her, in her pristine office, surrounded by panicking employees who didn't understand the machine they were operating. The ghost was gone and the house was finally truly haunted. I closed my laptop. The consequences had arrived. The chaos at Summit Tech was a distant storm on my laptop screen. Here in the history aisle, the only urgency was finding a specific town map from 1922. Excuse me? I turned. A woman stood there, a few years younger than me, with intelligent eyes and a hesitant smile. She held a notebook filled with sketches of buildings. I'm sorry to bother you, she said. Mrs. Gable said you're the one who knows the archive system. I'm looking for the original blueprints for the old lighthouse keeper's cottage. I'm Evelyn, by the way. Liam, I said. It was the first time I'd introduced myself to someone new in years without being Chloe's Liam. It felt light. The blueprints should be in the municipal records box. It's a bit of a maze. I can show you. Her face lit up. You'd be a lifesaver. The city council is talking about renovating it, and my firm needs the original intent. As I led her to the back room, there was no pressure, no demand, just a simple problem we were solving together. We found the tube of blueprints. As she unrolled them on a large table, her eyes scanned the intricate lines with a reverence I understood. Look at this craftsmanship, she murmured, more to herself than to me. They built this to last centuries, not just until the next quarterly report. The comment hit me like a gust of fresh air. I was so used to Chloe's world of disruptive innovation and rapid growth. This was different. You're an architect? I asked. Restoration architect, she corrected, looking up. I try to fix things, not just replace them. It's a dying art. She glanced at my hands. You seem like you're good with details. You have a steady way about you. No one had ever said that to me. Chloe valued big ideas, grand gestures. My steadiness was just part of the furniture. Later, my laptop showed me a different kind of blueprint, one collapsing in real time. A headline blared, Venture firm Apex Capital withdraws from Summit Tech funding round. My burner phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. Sarah. Liam, I know you said not to call. But I saw her today. She looks terrible. Mark Reynolds is in her office every day talking about a Lifeline merger. It feels predatory. She says you abandoned her, I didn't reply. The word abandoned felt so wrong. You abandon a sinking ship. You throw out an old chair. The next day, Evelyn was back, this time with 2 coffees. I come in peace and with caffeine, she said, handing me one. As a thank you for yesterday. You saved me hours. We sat on the bench outside the library. The silence was comfortable, not empty. So, Liam from the library, she began. What's your story? You're not from around here. It was the question I'd been dreading. But with her, it didn't feel like an interrogation. Needed a change of scenery, I said, which was the truest, simplest version. I used to work in tech, she nodded, sipping her coffee. The fast lane. Let me guess. You got tired of building things that were designed to be obsolete in 2 years? I almost choked on my coffee. It was like she'd looked right into my soul. Something like that. Well, she said, gesturing to the quiet street. Welcome to the slow lane. We have better coffee and much stronger foundations, I laughed. A real, genuine laugh. It felt strange and wonderful. That night, another email popped up on my secure server. It was an internal memo from Summit Tech, leaked to the press. Subject: emergency all-hands meeting. The language was full of corporate spin, but I could read between the lines. Panic. Mark Reynolds' lifeline was a takeover, and Chloe was being cornered. I thought of Evelyn's words. Stronger foundations. I had built Aura on a foundation of love and loyalty. Chloe had built her empire on a foundation of me. And now, without its ghost, the whole thing was crumbling. I closed the laptop. The storm in my old life was raging. But here, on this quiet bench, with the taste of good coffee and the echo of a real conversation, I felt an anchor drop for the first time. I was no longer adrift. Here. I was repairing a binding on a weathered copy of Moby Dick when Mrs. Gable approached my desk. Her expression was unreadable. Liam, there's a gentleman here to see you. A Mr. Chen. He says it's important. The name hit me like a physical blow. Mr. Chen, the reclusive titan of venture capital, the man who could make or break empires with a single phone call. My mouth went dry. Thank you, Mrs. Gable. You can send him back. He moved through the quiet library with a calm authority that demanded silence. He was older, his hair silver, but his eyes were impossibly sharp. He stopped at my desk. Liam Walsh, he said, his voice low and even. I've been looking for you. Mr. Chen, I managed. This is a surprise. I prefer not to be predictable. Is there somewhere we can talk? I led him to the same back room where I'd helped Evelyn. It felt strange housing this ghost from my past life in my new sanctuary. He didn't waste a second. I know you built Aura. I stared at him, my heart hammering against my ribs. I was part of the team. No, he said, cutting me off. You were the architect. Chloe Summers is a brilliant marketer, a compelling face. But the genius behind the code? The elegant, resilient system architecture that, until recently, ran flawlessly? That was you. I've known for years. How? Because I look at the foundations, not the facade. I read code better than I read business plans. Your work has a signature, clean, efficient, built to last. He paused, letting his words sink in. The recent instability only confirmed it. The machine is failing because the architect is gone. He saw right through me, through everything. It was terrifying and validating all at once. Why are you here? I asked. To make you an offer, he said, his gaze unwavering. Stop hiding. Stop letting her use your genius as a footnote in her story. I will fund you. Fully. You will build your own company, your own product. Not a copy of Aura, its successor. Its replacement. The world tilted. It was everything I'd ever secretly wanted, served on a silver platter. Revenge, validation, and a future, all in one. You want me to destroy her, I whispered. I want you to claim what is rightfully yours, he corrected. The market will decide the rest. But yes, it will obliterate Aura. It's the natural order. The superior product wins. I need to think. Of course, Mr. Chen said, sliding a plain black business card across the table. It held only a phone number. Don't think too long. Genius shouldn't be shelved like one of these books. After he left, the room felt too small. That night, I met Evelyn for a walk along the pier. The sea was calm, a stark contrast to the storm in my head. You're quiet tonight, she said, her shoulder brushing against mine. Big thoughts in that librarian head of yours? I took a deep breath. Hypothetical question. If you were given a chance to build something incredible, something you were always meant to build, but it would mean stepping back into a world that hurt you, would you do it? She was silent for a moment, watching the waves. Is it about building, or is it about breaking what's already there? I don't know anymore. Well, she said, stopping to face me. The Liam I know fixes things. He's steady. He sees the foundation. If you do this, do it your way. Build something that lasts. Don't just break her thing to prove a point. Build a better one because that's who you are. Her words cut through the noise. This wasn't about revenge. It was about creation. It was about finally building something with my name on the foundation. I pulled out my phone and the black card. My fingers were steady. I typed a text to the number. Me. What would the company be called? The reply was almost instant.
Chen, that is for the CEO to decide. I looked at Evelyn, at the calm certainty in her eyes.
She saw the man I was, not the ghost I had been. I typed the final message, my choice made. Me. Cairo. It means the right or critical moment. I'm in. 6 months. The quiet library was replaced by the hum of a new server farm. My world was now a bright, open-plan office with a view of the city I'd fled. Cairo was live. My head of marketing, a brilliant, energetic woman named Anya, burst into my office. Liam, the numbers are insane. We've hit 100,000 users in the first 24 hours. The tech blogs are calling it the Aura Killer. I didn't look up from my screen. It's not about killing Aura. It's about building a better tool. Well, the market disagrees, she said, placing a tablet on my desk. Summit Tech's stock is down 40%. It's a bloodbath. A cold satisfaction settled in my stomach. This wasn't revenge. It was a correction. The market was finally seeing the truth. Anya pointed to the screen. And TechSphere wants an interview. Today, they're the biggest. You can't say no. An hour later, I sat in front of a camera, a microphone clipped to my jacket. The interviewer, a sharp woman named Rebecca, leaned forward. Liam Walsh, the reclusive genius behind Cairo. Your platform does everything Aura promised but failed to deliver. The speculation is rampant. What's your connection to Summit Tech? I kept my voice calm, my gaze steady. I have a deep understanding of the problems Aura was trying to solve. We simply built a better, more secure, and more intuitive solution. Rumors suggest you were closely involved in Aura's early days. Is that true? I was involved in many projects in my past, I said, a small, knowing smile touching my lips. At Cairo, we believe the architect should stand by his foundation. Our users will always know who built their house and how strong it is. I never said her name. I didn't have to. The entire tech world was connecting the dots. The pathetic friend. The ghost in the machine. He was back, and he'd built a skyscraper. Later, as I was reviewing user feedback, my assistant's voice came over the intercom. Mr. Walsh? There's a Miss Summers here to see you. She doesn't have an appointment. My hand stilled. I'd known this moment would come. I'd played it out in my head 100 times. Send her in. The door opened. Chloe stood there, but it wasn't her. The polished CEO was gone. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. Her expensive clothes looked rumpled, as if she'd been wearing them for days. There were dark circles under her eyes. She was a ghost of the woman I'd loved. She looked around my office at the evidence of my success, and her face crumpled. The confidence, the arrogance, all of it was stripped away, leaving raw desperation. Liam, she whispered, her voice cracking. I didn't stand. I just watched her. She took a hesitant step forward, her hands trembling. I saw the interview. I didn't know. I never knew you could do all this. You never asked, I said, my tone flat. A single tear traced a path down her cheek. The company, it's falling apart. The board is talking about a fire sale. Mark Reynolds, his offer is a joke. He'll dismantle everything. I said nothing. The silence stretched, thick and heavy. I was wrong, she choked out, the words seeming to physically pain her. I was so wrong. About everything. About you. She hugged her arms around herself, looking small and lost in the middle of my spacious office. She met my eyes. All her pride gone, replaced by a plea so deep it was almost primal. Liam, she whispered, the tears flowing freely now. Please. I chose a quiet cafe down the street from my office. Neutral ground. She was already there, clutching a coffee she hadn't touched. She looked up as I approached, her eyes wide and hopeful. "You came," she said, her voice fragile. "I said I would." I sat, not bothering with a drink. "Liam, thank you for this. I know I don't deserve it." She leaned forward, her words tumbling out. "I have a proposal. Come back, not as before, as a partner, co-CEO. We can merge Cairo and Summit Tech. You can have a 51% stake. Name your price. We can fix this together." I just looked at her. The sheer breathtaking audacity. "Or," she continued, her voice dropping, becoming intimate in a way that felt like a violation. "It could be like it was before. The two of us, a team. I see you now, Liam. I really see you." "No, Chloe," I said, my voice dangerously calm. "You don't. You see a life raft. You're offering me a title and a paycheck for the same thing you always wanted, my work without my worth." Her face fell. "That's not true, isn't it? Let me make it clear for you. You're not offering me a partnership. You're offering to buy back the foundation you threw away." She flinched. "I made a mistake. I said things I didn't mean." "You meant every word," I countered. "You just never thought the chair would get up and walk away. Did you ever wonder why the Aura servers never crashed before? It wasn't luck, it was me. I wrote the nightly optimization scripts that your team can't find because they don't know the language they're written in." Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. "The Henderson Group investment?" I continued, my tone flat, relentless. "The one that saved you 2 years ago? You were ready to give up. I stayed up for 3 nights and ghost wrote the entire proposal. You just changed the font and put your name on it. You never told me," she whispered, her face pale. "You never asked." The words snapped out sharp and final. "You were so busy being the brilliant CEO, you never once looked at the engine room. The investor deck for Mark Reynolds? My strategy. The pivot into the enterprise market that doubled your valuation? My analysis. I built every piece of that empire you live in, and you treated me like a piece of the furniture." Tears were streaming down her face now, but I felt no pity, only a cold, clean clarity. "You didn't lose a pathetic friend, Chloe," I said, leaning in slightly. "You lost your foundation. And the most pathetic part of all this is that you never even knew it was there. You were standing on my shoulders and thought you were tall." A raw, choked sob escaped her. She looked down at the table, her shoulders shaking. The truth wasn't setting her free. It was dismantling her piece by piece. The brilliant, self-made visionary was a myth, and the man she'd called pathetic was the one who had built her reality. "I'm sorry," she wept, the words barely audible. "I'm so sorry, Liam." I stood up, the legs of my chair scraping against the floor. The sound was like a period at the end of a sentence. "I know," I said, "but sorry doesn't rebuild a foundation. It just acknowledges the wreckage." I turned and walked out of the cafe, leaving her there among the ruins of everything she thought she was. The news alert was inevitable. Reynolds Capital initiates hostile takeover of Summit Tech. Mark was moving in for the kill. I felt nothing. It was like watching a building I'd already evacuated finally collapse. My intercom buzzed. "Liam, Chloe Summers is here again." "She's insistent," I sighed. 5 minutes. She looked worse than before, her face drawn and desperate. There were no tears this time, only a hollowed-out fear. "He's going to take it all, Liam," she said, her voice raspy. "He'll fire everyone, strip the assets, and kill Aura. It will be gone." I remained silent, letting her speak. "I'm not here to ask for a partnership," she said, her hands trembling as she placed a data drive on my desk. "This is the full offer from Reynolds. I'm here to beg you to buy it. You. Buy Summit Tech. Save it from him. You're the only one who can." I picked up the drive, weighed it in my hand, and then pushed it back across the desk toward her. "No." The single word echoed in the quiet office. Her face crumpled. "No, but why?" "You could have it all back. It's yours for the taking." "I don't want it back," I said, my voice calm and final. "That company was built on a lie. Its foundation was my silent labor and your public glory. Buying it would just mean inheriting your wreckage. I've already built something new, something that's truly mine. So you'll just let it die? Let millions of users lose everything?" she accused, a last flicker of fire in her eyes. "No," I said, turning to my computer. "I won't." My fingers flew across the keyboard, pulling up the core architectural files for Aura I'd kept in an encrypted vault. "Not to use, but to remember. What are you doing?" Chloe asked, confusion replacing her anger. "What I should have done from the beginning," I said. I'm not saving you, Chloe. I'm saving them. I isolated the flawed code at the heart of the instability, the cascading failure in the authentication server I'd warned her about. I wrote a clean, elegant patch. It took me 10 minutes. With a few clicks, I published it, not to a corporate server, but to a global open-source developer platform. The title was simple: Stability Patch for Aura Core Authentication Flaw. I included a note. For the users, not the Empire. I looked at Chloe, who was staring at my screen in stunned disbelief. There, I said, closing my laptop. Any engineer in the world can implement that. It will stabilize the platform. It will save your users from the crash. It won't save your company from Reynolds, and it won't save your CEO title. But the people who actually depended on Aura will be okay. She just stood there, speechless. I had possessed the power to be her savior or her destroyer. Instead, I had chosen to be neither. I had chosen to be a craftsman, fixing a broken tool for the people who used it. That's it? She finally whispered. That's it, I said, standing up. It's over, Chloe. For me, it was over the moment I heard you laugh. I walked out of my office, past her, and didn't look back. I wasn't leaving a villain or a victim behind. I was just leaving my past. I had finally truly moved on.